There's a moment in the SpongeBob movie that most people laugh at and immediately move on from. Sandy turns to Patrick and says, "Don't you have to be stupid somewhere else?" And Patrick looks back at her, completely calm, and says, "Not until 4. People hear that and think it's just a dumb joke, but when you sit with it for a second, something doesn't add up. Because that line isn't the punchline of a stupid person. That's the answer of someone with a schedule. Someone who treats being an idiot like a shift they clock into and out of. And once you start looking at Patrick through that lens, everything about his character changes. Because the more you watch, the more you realize that Patrick Star has never actually been stupid. He just decided to be. Now, that sounds like a stretch, right? This is the same guy who couldn't figure out how to use a can opener. The same guy who got lost inside his own rock. The same guy who thought a chocolate bar was a chocolate bar and proceeded to be chased by a fish, screaming about chocolate for half an episode. And yet, here's what's strange. Every single time something actually matters, Patrick knows exactly what's going on. Not sometimes, not occasionally, every single time. Take the season 3 episode Wet Painters. SpongeBob and Patrick have accidentally gotten permanent paint on Mr. Krabs' first dollar, and the two of them are losing their minds trying to fix it before Krabs comes back. SpongeBob is spiraling, panicking, doing everything wrong, and Patrick, completely out of nowhere, comes up with the actual solution. Just replace the dollar with another one. It's so obvious, so clean, so direct that SpongeBob is stunned. That's not a lucky guess. That's someone who took one look at the problem, understood it completely, and solved it. He was just waiting for the right time to say it. And that's not the only time. In the season 4 episode Squidtastic Voyage, Sandy shrinks a submarine and sends SpongeBob and Patrick into Squidward's body. Things go wrong fast, the sub loses fuel, and Sandy and SpongeBob are scrambling for a solution. Patrick, who has been playing the role of the clueless passenger the entire trip, calmly explains that the carbonation from soda could power the ship's escape. He understood the chemistry of it. He knew exactly how carbon dioxide works inside an enclosed system and how to apply it practically under pressure. This is the same Patrick who once forgot what a can opener was for. But when lives were on the line, suddenly he's a submarine engineer. In the season 6 episode Porous Pockets, SpongeBob finds a pearl and sells it, becoming instantly rich. And in his usual way, he starts throwing money at everyone around him with no plan whatsoever. While SpongeBob is losing his mind over the high of spending, Patrick pulls him aside and says something that sounds almost completely out of character. He tells SpongeBob that when you have money, you have to do more than just spend it. You have to have a plan. That is real financial wisdom coming from a guy who lives under a rock and doesn't have a job. Patrick wasn't confused. He wasn't stumbling into good advice. He saw what was happening, understood the consequences, and tried to warn his best friend. SpongeBob didn't listen, lost everything by the end of the episode, and Patrick's prediction came true perfectly. But here's the moment that most people remember and most people completely misread. The season 2 episode, The Secret Box. The whole episode is about SpongeBob trying to find out what's inside Patrick's box. He's desperate, almost feverish about it. Patrick guards it with his life and refuses to say what's inside. And just before the episode ends, Patrick says something that stops the whole thing cold. "The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma." Then the camera cuts to his brain, which is just a cartoon of a milk carton tipping over and spilling. Everyone laughs at the milk carton, but nobody stops to ask what just happened before it. Because that line, "The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma," is not something a stupid person says. That's a sentence most adults couldn't come up with unprompted. Patrick knew exactly what he was saying, and he said it with complete confidence. The milk carton is the distraction. That sentence is the truth. And if you still think this is all coincidence, then let's talk about the season 6 episode, The Card. Patrick gets his hands on card number 54, the rarest Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy trading card in existence, and he proceeds to put it through absolute hell. He drags it across the ground. He uses it as a spatula. He tapes it to a balloon. He lets it hang over a fire. SpongeBob is watching the whole thing in complete panic, screaming at Patrick to be careful. And Patrick just keeps smiling and doing the next terrible thing. By the end of the episode, SpongeBob is convinced that the card is destroyed, but Patrick reaches into his pocket and pulls out all 5 copies of card number 54. He had them the whole time. He was never in any danger of ruining a rare card. He watched SpongeBob spiral into a panic attack for an entire afternoon, never broke character once, and then dropped the reveal at the perfect moment. That's not stupidity. That's performance. Patrick spent an entire episode acting like a fool and had SpongeBob fooled from the first second to the last. So now we have to ask the obvious question. If Patrick is actually capable of all this, why does he spend most of his life acting like he isn't? Well, the show actually gives us the answer, and it's not a happy one. In the season 4 episode Patrick SmartPants, Patrick falls off a cliff during a jellyfishing trip and loses his head. When SpongeBob puts it back on, he accidentally grabs a piece of brain coral from nearby and places it on Patrick instead. Almost immediately, something shifts. Patrick starts speaking in full, articulate sentences. He references philosophy. He debates science with Sandy. He critiques Squidward's music with real, specific analysis. He's not just smarter, he's completely different. And within hours, his friendships start collapsing. SpongeBob bores him. Sandy and Squidward, initially excited to finally have a conversation with him, get driven away by how condescending he becomes. Smart Patrick can't help it. The more intelligent he gets, the more he looks at everyone around him and sees how far beneath him they are. He becomes cold, dismissive, lonely. And by the end of the episode, Patrick makes a choice. He removes the brain coral himself and places his real head back on. And what he says right before doing it is the most important line in Patrick's entire character history. Knowledge can never replace friendship. I prefer to be an idiot. Read that again. He prefers to be an idiot. He is choosing this. He looked at who he was with his intelligence fully activated, saw that it made him miserable and turned him into someone who drove people away, and made the decision that being loved was worth more than being smart. Patrick already knew what his intelligence cost him, and he decided it wasn't worth the price. But it goes even deeper than that, because in the season 4 episode Rule of Dumb, something very similar happens from a completely different direction. A royal ministry shows up and tells Patrick he's descended from royalty. He gets a crown, people bow to him, and within about 20 minutes he transforms into a cruel tyrant. He takes people's things for no reason. He demolishes a neighborhood to build his castle. He banishes his own best friend, and then near the end of the episode, something breaks through. Patrick walks past a mirror and sees his reflection. Except what stares back at him isn't Patrick, it's a monster. And Patrick, right there, stops everything. He takes the crown off and gives it away because he recognized what power was turning him into, and he chose to step away from it before it was too late. That's the same pattern. Every time Patrick has access to something that most people would fight to keep, whether it's intelligence, whether it's power, whether it's a royal title, he gives it back. Not because he doesn't understand what he has, but because he understands exactly what it does to him, and he refuses to become that version of himself. Think about the season 7 episode Karate Star. SpongeBob teaches Patrick karate, and within hours, Patrick's ability is completely out of control. He's slicing through buildings, destroying property, chopping through anything in his path. And when he realizes he literally cannot stop his own hand, that the skill has overridden his ability to control himself, he doesn't panic and run. He makes a decision. He chops his own hand off, it grows back, but the new hand is under his control. Patrick solved the problem by removing the part of himself that had gotten too dangerous. He's done this over and over in different ways his entire life. Every time a part of him becomes a threat to the people around him, he removes it. Intelligence, power, physical skill, all of it gets cut off before it can do real damage. And this is where the not until 4 line finally makes complete sense. Sandy wasn't asking him a serious question, she was dismissing him. But Patrick's answer wasn't a joke. He operates on a schedule. There are times he allows himself to engage fully with the world, and there are times he shuts that part of himself down. He's not dumb, he's disciplined. His whole life under that rock, the naps, the forgetting things, the confusion about the simplest objects, all of it is maintenance. It's how he keeps himself from becoming something he already knows he doesn't want to be. The smartest thing Patrick Star ever did was decide to stop being smart. He looked at his own intelligence, watched what it turned him into, and made a calculated, permanent choice to bury it. And he's been living with that choice every single day since. Not because he has to, because he genuinely believes the people he loves are worth more than anything his real potential could ever give him. So the next time you watch Patrick do something ridiculous and laugh at him for it, just remember, he's not confused. He's not lost. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's just decided, a long time ago, that he'd rather be the guy under the rock than the monster in the mirror. And if you ask me, that might be the most self-aware decision any character in Bikini Bottom has ever made.